My neighbor reported my awning as illegal. Code enforcement showed up that same day. I didn't argue. I didn't beg. I signed off on tearing it down right there. Downstairs, my neighbor stood there with her arms crossed, looking smug. That night, I called a crew and had the whole awning torn down overnight. It started raining the next day. Rainwater came pouring down my exterior wall. Without the awning, the water went straight into my downstairs neighbor's balcony. On the third morning, the community director knocked on my door with red eyes. Her voice was hoarse as she said, "Please put the awning back." 5 households downstairs filed a joint complaint. They said their homes were about to get moldy. I sipped my soy milk and said slowly, "Illegal build. Can't put it back." The neighbor who reported me was standing in the hallway. She looked furious. When code enforcement came, I was watering plants on the balcony. 2 uniformed officers looked stern. Holding a clipboard, one asked, "Are you Miss Chen Li?" "I am. We've received a report. The awning attached to your exterior wall is an illegal structure. It needs to be removed." As she spoke, she pointed downstairs. I followed her gaze. My downstairs neighbor, Liu Mei, had her arms crossed. She was leaning against the stone lion by the building entrance, barely hiding the smug look on her face. Her husband stood beside her, pointing at me and whispering nonstop. I looked away, then back at the officers. "Okay." They froze for a second, clearly not expecting that. "I agree to tear it down. Where do I sign?" I signed so fast even the younger officer blinked in surprise. "No need for 3 days," I said. "I'll tear it down tonight." I went back to watering my orchids. "Chen Li, tear that illegal thing down already!" Liu Mei shouted loudly enough for half the complex to hear. I ignored her. Instead, I pulled out my phone and called Honest Renovation. "Master Zhou? This is Chen Li from Building 7, Unit 601. Miss Chen, what do you need? You free tonight? I need an awning taken down." "After dark works? Money's not an issue. Liu Mei's family moved in about half a year ago. Since then, there hasn't been a single peaceful day. She complained about footsteps, hallway clutter, even stray cats. And her balcony? Her husband turned it into a delicate glass sunroom filled with imported plants. 2 days earlier, she complained in the group chat that my awning dripped water. I replied calmly, "That's what awnings do. Rain falls, water flows, basic physics." She went quiet after that. I thought it was over. I was wrong. By 10 p.m., the awning was completely gone. Not even a screw left behind. Master Zhou shook his head. "Such good material. What a waste." "Yeah," I said. "Someone thought it was ugly." The storm came the next morning. Without the awning, rain slammed straight down the exterior wall, then cascaded like a waterfall, right onto Liu Mei's balcony. Her carefully built sunroom took the full force. I leaned against my door, sipping coffee, watching silently. "My God, the whole balcony is flooded. Chen Li, did you do this on purpose?" I didn't answer. The next morning I opened my door to find Liu Mei standing there. Behind her, her husband was filming. "You did this intentionally." "You reported my awning," I said calmly. "I removed it legally. Rainwater flows downward." "That's gravity. You knew this would happen." "I followed the law. My flowers are ruined. You're paying for this." "Do you have proof I damaged them?" I asked. "Or do you want to argue with Newton?" She blocked my path. "You're not going anywhere until this is settled." I pulled out my phone. "Then I'll call the police for unlawful detention." She hesitated. Her husband stepped forward instead. "Call them. Let's see who's in the wrong." Just then, Auntie Lee across the hall opened her door. "Oh, perfect," Liu Mei said, instantly switching to tears. "You tell us who's right." Once her awning came down, all the rain flooded our place. Auntie Lee didn't hesitate. "You reported it, didn't you? Now it's gone. Where else would the water go?" Up. Silence. That evening, the entire building was in chaos. Neighbors gathered. Complaints piled up. Director Wang stood there, exhausted. "This is affecting multiple households." I nodded. "And it's caused by poor building design." Then I laid it out clearly. First, she reported my awning as illegal. I complied. Second, the water issue is a structural flaw. Third, I'm not responsible. Silence again. "Can't you just put it back?" Director Wang asked weakly. I smiled faintly. "Are you asking me to break the law?" He said nothing. Liu Mei's face went pale. She had trapped herself. "Either," I said calmly, "you get code enforcement to officially approve the awning, or there's nothing I can do." The rain didn't stop for 3 days. By the 4th, the building smelled faintly damp, like wet concrete and something slowly rotting underneath. Complaints exploded. Not just 1 or 2. 5 households downstairs filed together. Photos, videos, mold starting to creep along the walls, paint bubbling, and every single complaint pointed to one place, Unit 601, me. That afternoon, Director Wang called for an emergency meeting in the courtyard. Everyone came. Liu Mei stood in the center like she was finally getting her moment, hair perfectly styled, eyes red, but not from crying, from anger. You all see this now, right? She said, voice loud and shaking. Because of her selfishness, our homes are being destroyed. Murmurs spread through the crowd. Pressure. Exactly what she wanted. Director Wang turned to me. Chen Li, we really need a resolution today. I stepped forward slowly, calm, unhurried, of course. Then I pulled a folder out of my bag. Thick, organized, prepared. I went to code enforcement this morning, I said. Liu Mei's expression shifted, just slightly. Good. Got something in writing? I smiled. Oh, I did more than that. I handed the documents to Director Wang. He flipped through them, his brows furrowed. Then, his face changed. Completely. What is it? Liu Mei snapped. Just say it. Director Wang looked up slowly. These are inspection notices. From when? Someone asked. From 10 years ago. The crowd stirred. I spoke. Turns out this building failed waterproofing standards when it was constructed. Silence. Heavy rain was always going to cause water to run down the exterior walls. The awnings, everyone installed? I paused. They were a workaround. Murmurs turned louder. Confusion. Realization. I continued, voice steady. I also submitted a formal complaint this morning, with multiple households affected. I glanced at Liu Mei. The case has now been escalated. To who? Director Wang asked quietly. I met his eyes. The housing authority. That landed like a bomb. Liu Mei laughed sharply. So what? What does that have to do with my house being flooded? I tilted my head slightly. Everything. Right on cue. 2 cars pulled up outside the gate. Not code enforcement. Higher. Officials stepped out, followed by suited representatives. One of them held a sealed document. The developer has been notified, Director Wang said under his breath. I spoke clearly so everyone could hear. Because the original structure was defective, and because modifications like awnings were widespread and known. I let the word settle. The responsibility falls on the developer and property management. Gasps. Real loud ones. And, I added softly, since the issue was reported and escalated through a resident complaint. My eyes landed on Liu Mei. The investigation was triggered faster than usual. Her face went white. Wait. What are you implying? I didn't raise my voice. Didn't need to. You wanted the awning gone, it's gone. You wanted attention. You got it. One of the officials stepped forward. Due to structural negligence, the developer will be required to carry out full exterior waterproofing repairs. He flipped a page. For all affected units, relief rippled through the crowd. Until, he kept speaking. However, any unauthorized structural modifications that contributed to damage will be individually assessed. Pause. Then, some installations may be deemed non-compliant. Slowly, every head turned. Not up, down, to Liu Mei's balcony, her glass sunroom. Her husband stepped back instinctively. No, that's different. The official checked his file. Unit 501, enclosed balcony structure. No permit on record. Silence dropped like a hammer. Liu Mei's voice cracked. That's not the same thing. It is, the official said flatly. I folded my arms. Watched. Illegal structure, he continued. Subject to removal? The words echoed. The exact same words she had used. You can't, she started. We can, he replied. And we will. Her husband grabbed her arm. Say something. Fix this. But for the first time since they moved in, Liu Mei had nothing to say. That evening, as the rain finally stopped, another crew arrived, not mine. They started dismantling her precious sunroom panel by panel. Carefully, thoroughly, leaving nothing behind. I stood on my balcony, no awning, just open sky. Below, Liu Mei stood in the same spot she once watched me from, arms no longer crossed, face pale, eyes hollow. I leaned slightly over the railing, calm, unbothered. Water runs downhill, I said softly. She looked up at me. And consequences, I added, run the same way. This time, she didn't argue. She just stood there, as everything she built came apart. The demolition of Liu Mei's sunroom took 2 days. Not rushed, not messy, precise, panel by panel, frame by frame, until the balcony was stripped back to bare concrete. The first night after it was gone, it rained again. Not a storm this time, just steady, quiet rain. Water ran exactly the way it always had, down the exterior wall, past my balcony, past the 5th floor, past the 4th. This time, nothing blocked it, nothing redirected it. By morning the complaints started again, but they didn't come to me, they went straight to property management. To the developer, to the officials who were now very involved. Within a week, scaffolding wrapped the entire side of the building. Workers sealed cracks, installed proper drip edges, reinforced waterproofing. For the first time in over a decade, the building was being fixed the right way. People stopped whispering when I walked by, some even nodded, a few quietly thanked me. Liu Mei didn't come out much anymore. When she did, she kept her head down. No more shouting, no more complaints, no more performances. I thought that was the end of it. It wasn't. One evening, as I got home from work, I saw a familiar figure standing near the entrance. Director Wang. He looked better, less exhausted, but uneasy. Chen Li, he called. I walked over. Something wrong? He hesitated, then handed me a document. A mediation request, he said, from Liu Mei. I didn't take it immediately. On what grounds? He exhaled slowly. She's claiming financial loss, emotional distress, says your actions intentionally escalated the situation. I let out a small laugh. Not loud, just enough. And you? I asked. Do you think I escalated anything? Director Wang looked at me for a long second, then shook his head, dressed sharply, composed, but her hands, tight, restless. Her lawyer did most of the talking, painted a story, a cruel neighbor, calculated retaliation, intentional harm. When it was my turn, I didn't stand immediately. I opened my folder, same one as before. Your Honor, I said calmly, I'd like to submit a timeline, document after document. Stamped, dated, clear. The complaint filed by the plaintiff, the enforcement notice issued, my signed compliance, proof of removal within hours, inspection reports of structural defects, official escalation records. Each piece landed like a quiet weight. I followed every instruction given by authorities, I said. At no point did I violate any regulation. I paused. Then added, if the consequences of lawful compliance cause damage. I looked at Liu Mei. Then the issue lies with the law, the structure, or the original complaint. Silence. Her lawyer tried to push back, but intent, I interrupted gently, is irrelevant when actions are lawful and documented. The judge nodded slightly. It didn't take long after a claim dismissed, just like that. The sound of the gavel was soft, but final. Outside the courthouse, Liu Mei called out to me. Chen Li. I stopped, turned. For the first time, she didn't look angry. She looked tired. You could have just talked to me, she said quietly. I held her gaze, then answered just as calmly. I did. A beat. You just didn't like the answer. She had nothing to say to that. Months later, the building stood clean, dry, fixed. No more leaks, no more mold, no more complaints. My balcony was still open, no awning, didn't need one anymore. One morning, as I watered my orchids, a light rain began to fall. Soft, controlled. Water traced the new drip edges perfectly, flowing exactly where it should. I took a sip of coffee, watched it for a moment, then went back inside. Some problems need patching, some need exposing, and some only get solved when someone finally lets them break. Tea happened about 3 months later. By then everything had settled. The building was fixed, neighbors went back to normal, even Liu Mei had become quiet, almost invisible, almost. One night around 9 p.m., the homeowner group chat lit up. Rapid messages, notifications stacking. Did you all see this? Is this our building? Who posted this? A video link dropped into the chat. No caption, just a file. I tapped it, grainy footage, nighttime, security camera angle from the entrance. A familiar figure stood under the light, pacing, agitated. No one replied. Unreadable. Do you have proof? I asked. She froze. The words hit her harder than anything else, because they were familiar, her own logic, thrown back at her. She couldn't finish. I stepped past her, pressed the elevator button. Funny thing, I said lightly, eyes on the closing doors. Water runs downhill. She flinched. I glanced at her one last time. So does truth. Normal, no drama, smooth, the doors closed. That was the last time she knocked on my door. Within a month. Her apartment was listed for sale, no announcement, no goodbye, just gone. A new family moved in, quiet, no complaints. Sometimes when it rains, I still stand by the balcony and watch the water flow. Controlled.